Hi, I'm Julia. Welcome to Grassroots Analytics Insider. Today we're here with Julius. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yay! All right, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to GA.
Definitely. So, as Julia said, my name is Julius. I am one of the fundraising strategists here at GA. I came up in the campaign world. Um, my first experience in campaigns was in 2021 into 2022. I was an intern with a state house race in Pennsylvania, where I grew up, specifically in Philadelphia. I was working for this insurgent campaign for a guy named Tarek Khan. He was challenging the long-term incumbent, Pam Delisio, who had been kind of mailing in her duties as a state representative. This, I should also mention, was my home district. So I was very familiar with a lot of the, kind of local politics, inner workings of the district, issues that were important. And yeah, I got started working on kind of as a call time manager and general, jack of all trades intern. They had me doing all kinds of stuff like clips, donor research, all kinds of,
Nice.
whatever needed to be done. We ended up winning that campaign, electing Tarek to be the first Pakistani American and second Muslim in the state
Wow.
house, Pennsylvania State House. It was very exciting. It was really, I don't know, invigorating to be involved in something that was bigger than myself and also had an impact on my community. It was unexpected, and yeah, that kind of got me involved in campaigns. After that, I went to go work for Michael Bennett on his Senate race in 2022. This was my first job out of college. Then I went back to Philadelphia to work on the Philadelphia mayor's race for Rebecca Reinhart. Um, Michael Bennett, we won. Reinhart, we lost. I took a sabbatical then, for lack of a better word. Came back from some travel, worked on the D trip, helping run their IE, their independent expenditure, in 2024. And I was looking to stay in DC, and that brought me to GA.
Wow.
Yeah,
What a whirlwind experience. That's so cool.
right.
I can I can hear the way you talk about like these political experiences. There's so much energy. And I would love to know how you got interested in politics like from the get-go.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people my age, I came up during the Obama era and
Yeah,
watched those elections in 2008, 2012. It was very inspiring.
sure.
It really got me interested in politics. I've always been a people person,
Yeah.
and I've been interested in, working with people. And for better or worse, that politics is kind of all about people, especially now.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so back to GA. Tell us about your role.
Yeah, I'm a fundraising strategist, so I work directly with a whole bunch of campaigns up and down the ballot. Everything from dog catcher to Senate races. Um, it's kind of 50-50 between general strategy, helping them build finance plans, do call time, or train for call time, and then providing like targeted data and donor lists for those campaigns.
Amazing. So Prior came on the podcast a few months ago. He was a fundraising strategist back then. Now he's our VP of campaigns.
Mhm.
And he was telling us all about fundraising premiere. So can you just give a little bit of a refresher of what it is and who it helps?
Yeah. For those of us who don't remember, for when our lovely prior was on, Fundraising Premier is the kind of full service package we offer to campaigns, nonprofits, PACs, various different organizations within the democratic ecosystem. It is really built to be like useful for people all up and down the ballot, because we're able to, provide very specific targeted data to different to different campaigns, and we're also able to tailor our advice to and that data to the specific needs of those campaigns. So like I said in my previous response, it's
Mhm.
about 50% building the best like donor lists, doing
Right.
all the prospecting, taking on a lot of the grunt work that is just very time consuming for campaign finance departments. And then for, various campaigns we work with that don't have as much experience, when I'm directly working with a client, it's actually walking them through a lot of what it takes to run for office, and then more specifically, what it takes to run a, campaign finance and fundraising program.
Amazing. So let's dig into one of the specific offerings of fundraising career call time.
Hmm.
You were talking about donor research and prospecting. What is call time?
Yeah, the primary way a lot of campaigns raise money and have raised money for a long time now,
Decades, yeah.
decades. Yeah, I remember watching The Wire, and in season three, when Carcetti's running for mayor, there
Hmm.
are several, and this was honestly a formative thing for me too, watching those like seasons of The Wire, especially the political seasons.
Yep, yep, yep.
Farther
The
on,
best
but
ones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he's doing call time in that, and that was 20 years ago.
Sure.
If you've seen that, you'll probably know what it looks like. But it's calling people, donors, supporters, various people, and having a conversation with them, and at the end, asking them for money to support your campaign.
Hmm.
Because campaigns in America run on individual contributions, or they have generally. Now campaign finance is a lot more complicated. There's a lot more ways to fund campaigns or fund different, organizations, committees that do campaign work, campaign adjacent work,
Right.
but the kind of core, the core of like political like campaigns is still the campaign committee, which is the candidate, and the way they fund those committees is through individual contributions.
Yep, for sure. So what's the difference between a good call time program and a great one?
Definitely. I think the biggest differentiator between a good call time program and a great call time program is the charisma and the ability to like act that the candidate has.
Yeah,
At the
yeah.
end of the day, you are having a conversation with
Sure.
a real human at the other end of the phone.
Absolutely.
I think people can get kind of disembodied through the phone or whatever you're using, the computer, if that's what you're using to call.
Totally.
And remembering, that your body language, the way you talk, even if you're just like smiling during call time, like that, you might not think that comes through on the call, but it really does. So I'd say like, general charisma and an ability to have a conversation, meet people where they're at.
Sure,
That
sure.
applies to politics in general.
I think you're so right. Our former CEO Danny has this thing that he often says called "It's having the right attitude that's hard,"
Yeah.
and I think that is so applicable to call time because it really is hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to have a smile on your face through the phone after so many no's. But I think you're right that like it's kind of an act. Infrastructure is great, but the right attitude is also really important.
Definitely. It's a marathon. It's something
Yes.
that is often the thing that candidates hate the most.
Right.
To
Right.
be frank, I know that applies to yeah, several of the people I've worked for. But yeah, the thing I remember going back to Tarek was that he
Yeah.
was very charismatic,
Hmm.
and you did not need to remind him a lot to, keep calling, to keep having conversations. The harder thing that, this was a problem, but it was a good problem to have, is that he would talk to people too much. Which
Too chatty.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, lots of people are probably not like your former candidate and have phone anxiety. They don't want to chat. They're not like willing to be charismatic, but they would still be a great candidate for office. For those candidates or staffers who are wary of starting out the dialing for dollars, what advice would you give them to make that hard ask and be comfortable with it?
Yeah, I would zoom out a little bit and be clear sighted about why you're doing call time. I
Great.
think that fundraising, my personal philosophy is that fundraising is a means to an end.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it is a way to show strength, but I think sometimes people get too concerned with like how much money they're raising. And can be they're the ultimate goal is to win the election.
Sure,
And
sure.
through that, you actually need to talk to voters. You need to do voter outreach. You need to make yourself accessible. You need to like get attention. And that is different
Hmm.
than call time. So I would say like there's been this traditional or conventional wisdom that you need to do a certain number of hours during the day.
Yeah.
I think a better way to look at call time is to say, all right, we need to raise, $5,000 a day to stay
Right.
viable, to pay the bills, whatever it is. Once we've raised that, we can go and do other things. So, you might not enjoy it. It might be stressful, anxiety inducing.
Sure.
But, rather than saying like, I've got to sit down and do this for 10 hours, which again is an approach, you've got to sit down. And once you get that $5,000, you can get off the
You can
phone.
pivot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, totally. Um, So you have been in many call time rooms. You now advise people who are in call times rooms. What do you say when it feels like you've been in the call time room for hours and hours and hours and people just keep saying no? Like you're at hour 10, you haven't raised your $5,000. How do you keep morale up?
so
It's
tough.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things, and I think does come back to like candidate quality
Yeah.
and a belief and a will and discipline to get through it.
Right.
I think call time can kind of be a microcosm of various other things you will encounter during, if you are elected to office.
Hmm.
You're going to have to do a lot of things that are unpleasant
Yeah. It's
and,
hard.
yeah, that, you don't want to do. And you're going to have a lot of people tell you no or just encounter a lot of obstacles.
Right.
So I think remembering that this is like, good practice, perhaps, it
Hmm.
builds some stoicism.
Right.
Um,
Right.
to for future problems you will encounter or challenges, but these are challenges that can be overcome. At the end of the day, like if you have like a certain goal you need to reach that amount,
Yep.
um, it's quite likely you'll get there
Right.
if you do put in the time.
Right. And if you have a great team behind you,
Oh, for
both
sure.
on the ground
Yeah,
and here at grassroots.
yeah,
Okay, so you've worked on a lot of different types of races. I'm interested to know if the fundraising strategy changes based on local versus Senate, based on the like size of the race.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of almost goes without saying that you're if you're running for Senate, you're running to represent an entire state. If you're
Sure.
running as Tarek did for the 194th or Pennsylvania House District,
Yeah.
you're running to represent 70,000 people,
Right. Right.
of which 100 or sorry 10,000 will probably vote. Um,
Damn.
yeah, same with if you're running for the mayor of Philadelphia, like you're going to be representing Philadelphia. People outside of Philadelphia are not going to care as much.
Sure.
This is a challenge that you're gonna like have, if
Yeah.
especially if you're running, in a little down ballot race in this or a red part of the country or a
Yeah.
part of the country that's just not getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
There's probably only going to be so many donors that are going to uh, care or be interested in talking to you and be familiar with the race. And that's where we come in. I think we're able to provide like those people like front and center.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take out a lot of the monotony of finding those people, the tediousness of combing through the white pages and all of that.
Right. Right. We'll
So a
all
lot of
be
it, yeah,
there.
comes down to the audience, and the number of people that you're actually going to be able to call.
Right. And then it's also just like the reason that you're raising that much money is different because you
Yeah,
have way more voters to contact in a Senate race
exactly. Yeah,
versus a Pennsylvania House race.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what does innovation look like for call time?
Um, One of the things that I think has changed a lot and has been very helpful in kind of like the innovation space is just the availability of on-demand donor histories and
Sure.
more comprehensive like bios, like contribution bios, and then just like kind of metadata or uh, like extra information about who
Hmm.
you're calling, especially if you're doing cold prospecting.
Sure.
Um, One of the things I started out doing was compiling like manual donor reports, parsing through campaign finance reports, social media posts, whatever it was, trying to build a profile on various types like donors we might be interested in talking to. um, that has been something that has been automated to some extent here at grassroots, and it's just been very helpful in providing a more complete understanding of someone's donor history, and then you can make a lot of inferences on the type of person they are from those contributions.
Amazing. Um, okay, so if you have a candidate or a team making really great use of fundraising premier, they're in the call time room, they're training, what's next for them?
If we have people who are really getting through fundraising premier, in a like they're loving it, they're raising
Yeah.
a lot of money, there are a bunch of other programs we might suggest,
Yeah.
some at grassroots, some with our partners, but for those people who are raising a lot of money, who are able to be charismatic, be like conversational on the phones, and just be generally a good candidate that's garnering attention. We have a whole bunch of other products and services that are ways to build out a fully fleshed out campaign finance
Hmm.
program.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of those other services and features have been actually featured on this podcast. So go check out some episodes. We'll link them below. Um, do you have any advice for a first time candidate?
Yeah, I think politics is downstream of attention now, and I think it's important to approach it in that way. That you're going to have much easier going back to call time, um, if you're out there, and you have an understanding of like how communication works in 2026.
Mm,
Like I think we've seen the most like successful campaigns this cycle have started by like you know getting attention, and everything else has followed from there. You can look at that with Zoran Mamdani and Graham Plattner.
mm,
Um, these are obviously like very talented politicians,
right.
and not everyone is going to be able to do that, especially if you're running in those down ballot races. But approaching politics like, okay, I'm not just competing with other people who are calling them, but I'm competing with everything else that is like grabbing people's attention and taking their attention. So how can I get a little slice of that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And really just it's about having something to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you talk about how you lean on a GA pillar in your work as a fundraising strategist?
Yeah, so I would go with the leading with curiosity and compassion.
Yeah.
A lot of my job is working and maintaining relationships with clients, and again, there is a whole range of experience levels and knowledge about politics and campaigning and
Mhm.
all these things that I kind of take for granted that people know. So being able to meet people where they are and approach things with an open mind is very helpful, because like we want more normal people in politics, or people
Yeah.
who are not insiders, are not part of what people see as the establishment.
Right.
And that's going to mean meeting people where they are, because it's kind of certainly implied that if you're an outsider, you're not going to have all the inside knowledge that comes with or that's needed for running for office, for being an elected official,
Sure.
and being able to help with that in even in this like narrow vertical is important.
Yeah, definitely. I think like something that you're kind of saying is that running for office is a skill. It can be taught, you
Oh
can
yeah,
learn it, and like you are the teacher. So I love that one about fundraising
in some
premier.
way I can teach
Yeah.
some things.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can do some things. Call time for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
What's giving you hope right now?
Oh man, probably a little cliched, but I have been excited to see all the special election results. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the Democratic Party has become the party of special elections, and voters who vote a lot and often, and are not your people who show up, your kind of low information voters, as they are referred to.
Mm,
So it's hard to tell how much of this is going to transfer to the midterms or into 2028 and beyond. But it's been
sure.
good to see that. It's just been nice to win some elections.
Yeah.
Um, I think that people are thinking and engaging more critically with some of the mistakes we've made over the last 10 years.
Mm,
I think people should be a little less judgmental and try and build bigger tents, and political movements that are more inclusive, versus having political movements that are exclusive, or that require like people to adhere to a bunch of different like. I think that people are, and I'm looking at again someone like Zoran, in New
yeah.
York, just as an example, that people voting for Trump was not a it was not like a something that was prohibitive for him. Like he wouldn't
Hmm.
talk to those people because many of their concerns were valid,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
perhaps their solution, or voting for Trump, was not the right solution. But that doesn't mean that the reasons, the underlying symptoms for voting for Trump, or the kind of Trump movement in general, um, that we should be like reaching out to those people.
Yeah. That was really eloquent. I loved how you said how
Yeah,
you said that.
thank you.
It's definitely true. Cool. Well, Julius, this was great. Thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much
you.
for coming. Yeah, we loved having you on.
Yeah, this was fantastic, and go birds.